Jurassic World garnered praise and attention when it genetically modified the original Jurassic Park trilogy. Now, it's a perfectly fine film if you like dinosaur movies without any scares or actual suspense. That said, it was a perfectly adequate start to a new trilogy, setting up concepts that could be explored in future sequels. Whether or not they follow through with that is a conversation for a subsequent video. Yes, it is a film that is actively not scary, but is it worth the hate that some of these critics doled out? Let's just take a look at what they said and roast them. But before I get into the roasts, here's this week's mystery review. All you have to do is guess what movie this review is in reference to. Review says, an endless roll of jokes ensures this is a sublime, dumb but smart entertainment. If you think you know the movie, drop that down below, or if you even have a wrong answer, drop that below as well. Like I said, I'll answer that later in the video. Now, let's get to the critics who really hated Jurassic World. Joshua Rothkopf from Time Out says, Jurassic World has absolutely no reason for being, except for the obvious one, but at least it chomps your time painlessly. Obviously, so Universal can milk as many pennies out of this franchise as possible, and they do get better, right? Right? Depending on who you ask, this movie either exists for a reason, or its existence is totally banal. Personally, I'd say it's there for nostalgia bait, and on a more personal level, it brings back that sense of wonder and awe that we all experienced as kids when we watched Jurassic Park for the first time. For me, it kind of did. I actually loved seeing John Hammond's vision come to full fruition. Like, the park itself, I'm not talking about the movie, but the actual park is a significant improvement on the 1993 version. And then all the attractions and the commercial tie-ins, those are all byproducts of Gennaro's capitalism.
And we can charge anything we want, $2,000 a day, $10,000 a day, and people will pay it. And then there's the merchandise.
And so yes, as somebody who adamantly states that this movie does not come close to the original, that aspect of the film is what keeps it on the recommend side for me. Steve McFarlane from Slant Magazine says, Jurassic World can't tell whether it wants to be junk food or not, lovingly poking fun at some Hollywood tropes while shamelessly indulging others. Steve here is criticizing junk food while he's eating up his own recycled metaphors like it's a bag of pork rinds. Or should I say lamb chops?
What's the matter, kid? You never had lamb chops?
You, Steve, waffle more than the script did. Just admit you didn't understand what was going on and move on, you film school dropout. Matt Singer from Screen Crush says, the moral of Jurassic World is don't make Jurassic World. Obviously, the filmmakers did not heed their own advice. Matt tried to be clever, but the only thing extinct here is his originality. And the only moral here is that not every critic deserves his own platform, especially ones confusing sarcasm with insight. Dan Geyer from Chicago Daily Herald says, if you've seen the 3 preceding Michael Crichton-inspired Jurassic Adventures, you've pretty much seen this one already. With so many added scenes of gnashing jowls trying to eat screaming victims that they become mildly repetitious. Look, Dan, here's a free piece of advice for you. If you're tired of watching people get eaten by dinosaurs, you'd probably be better suited off watching The Notebook. Renee Rodriguez from Miami Herald says, there's something deeply wrong with a film that expects you to shed tears over digitally created prehistoric creatures and rubber brontosaurus heads, instead of rooting for, people. Yeah, that didn't make me cry, and I don't know anybody that cried watching Jurassic World. Maybe out of disappointment for not being properly scared, but the brontosaurus, the rubber head, was not in any way sad. The real tragedy here is this critic's emotional range. Peter Vonderhauer from Houston Press says, God destroys dinosaurs. We all saw this one coming. God creates man, man destroys God, man creates dinosaurs, dinosaurs eat man, man creates dinosaurs again, God herniates himself laughing. That is pretty funny, but he still used dinosaurs to insult Genesis, right? Hey Pete, God called. He said that your joke bombed in beta. You can dig it up with the other fossils in Montana. Udhay Naik from The Hindu says, throwing bigger and more ferocious dinosaurs at the audience clearly doesn't make the film better. Yeah, it's true. Alright, I'm gonna take a break from the roasting. This is actually true. They keep saying we need more teeth, and, Hollywood and Warner Brothers and Universal keep making King Kong and Godzilla everything bigger, bigger, bigger. That doesn't do anything. That doesn't make anything scarier. In fact, if you go back and think about the things that have scared us the most, think about Outbreak. It was a virus. That was really scary, right? Go back to the original Jurassic Park. The scariest dinosaurs were the velociraptors, roughly the size of a tall human. Bigger does not make better. And so, Udhay 9, you are correct, my fine sir. I should have saved this review for the most honest review. Todd Jorgensen from Cinemalog says, Jurassic World yields its share of excitement, although rather than take the concept in a new direction, the sequel seems to be living in the past. Living in the past? Yes, it's called a franchise, Grandpa. And besides that, it's a franchise about dinosaurs. It's gonna lean into the past a little bit. What can I say? Christy Lemire from ChristyLemire.com, that's pretentious, says, so basically, Jurassic World is a big budget indictment of corporate greed jammed with product placement for Samsung and Mercedes-Benz. She says it's an indictment of corporate greed while typing this on an iPhone sipping Starbucks. Margot Harrison from 7 Days, he says, in short, this film could have used a Rise of the Planets of the Apes treatment. Not even the studio moguls at Universal want to see our beloved dinosaurs talking to each other and doing sign language and stuff. I mean, you remember the end of Jurassic Park 3? We don't want that again, and apparently you do. Eileen Jones from The Jacobin says, the price you pay for delightful dinosaur carnage is, as always, dwelling in the Spielberg-patented world of regressive gender roles and worship of the white middle-class nuclear family. Ah, the horror of not starring a polyamorous dinosaur. Moving on, Andrew Galdi from Movie Bitches says, this movie should not exist. I said the same about this take. If not for this movie, we would not be getting Jurassic World Rebirth. But then again, we wouldn't have gotten Jurassic World Dominion. Speaking of, just wait until I get to that movie. I hate it more than anything else in this world. And I will let it be known. I will be ripping those critics apart like a rabid raptor. So if you want to see that rant, and if you want to see me go really hard on those critics that actually liked it, subscribe and ring that bell to be notified for when that video drops like it's falling out of a dinosaur's anus. Before we get to the most honest reviews, here is the answer to the mystery review I read earlier. Get your answer down below if you haven't. The review was, an endless roll of jokes ensures this is sublime, dumb but smart entertainment. This was written by David Brake from One Room with a View about the movie, The Minions. I'll take his word for it, or not. I'm not going to take his word for it. Not even my kids get me to watch that. All right. We have a few of the most honest reviews. One of them comes from Megan Basham from World. In fact, I read her book, Shepherds for Sale. I do highly recommend it. If you want to purchase a copy of your own, click the affiliate link down below and it'll take you directly to that book for you to purchase. She gives Jurassic World a fresh score and says, summer moviegoers cannot live by superheroes alone. And darn if the entire time my grown-up film critic head was saying, this is so stupid, some little kid corner of my heart wasn't crowing, and yet so awesome. And then the last one, he really speaks to my heart here. Robert Dennerstein from Movie Habit gives Jurassic World a rotten score and says, it lacks the bite and the fright of the original. I cannot say it any better than that. If you love original Steven Spielberg movies, I highly recommend you watch my video on Raiders of the Lost Ark. You will not be disappointed when you see how I roast the critics. Yes, there were critics who hated Raiders of the Lost Ark. And of course, you can check out my entire playlist of roasting the critics. Feel free to click there. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video, roasters.